Espace, space and light.
Welcome to Japan. This is our trip to Japan. In fact, this is Kansai International Airport right here. Very large new airport built like 1994 or something. Spacious. On its own little island near Osaka. And this is on Japan's biggest island, which is called... Not quite sure what it's called, but it's a big island. Honshu? Honshu. The train station is right there at the airport. We took a train from here to Kyoto. Just typical scenes from the train, actually very unattractive, mainly the Japanese cities. Pretty ugly architecture. It was not a bullet train, you can see it's not going very fast. And this was our first example of some strangely inefficient Japanese practices when we paid for our tickets at the airport. The guy giving us the tickets was adding up the cost of the tickets on an abacus. It's hard to believe that you could have your bullet train tickets added up on an abacus. Now we're in Kyoto with its very impressive train station. As you can see, it's many levels, many people. Certainly many bullet trains coming in and out of Kyoto station. That tower that you just saw is the top of a hotel. The station is behind me as I speak. These two young women were getting a lot of attention from the old ladies just behind because of the way they dressed, in particular their hair and their shoes. This is our taxi ride to our Japanese inn. This is the inn in question. I'm going to leave Catherine to say a few words about it.
No. You say it very well. I shall continue.
Well, I guess she's going to say it all on her face in a moment. We were a little disappointed with this Japanese inn. This was the view out of the window. Not much of a view, but we were really hoping for something a little more.
Japanese.
So we moved to this hotel at twice the price. Very hard to find because Japanese people were flocking to Kyoto that week. It was the week when the cherry trees were in blossom. This is the Ana Hotel. That's a typical Japanese instrument. I have no idea what it's called. Those women in traditional clothes, you do see some Japanese women dressed in traditional clothes, maybe less than 1 in 100 I would say though, at least in Kyoto. And you're more likely to see them at certain times in certain places, like Sunday in a temple area. The Ana Hotel is very close to the Nijo Castle. It's opposite the Nijo Castle, which is you almost saw it just then. You can see a lot of cherry trees already. Many cherry trees in Japan, but no cherries. The cherry trees are a type that don't produce cherries, so they have to have all their cherries imported. So this is the Nijo Castle, which was built by a shogun, I think. For a while the emperors were powerful, and then the shoguns became more powerful than the emperors, and this castle was built to show how powerful the shogun was compared to the emperor. It doesn't even have any defenses. The shogun didn't feel threatened by anybody, at least nobody from outside. But he did feel threatened by his own entourage. So I think this is probably an example of the many places in Japan that are built with squeaky floorboards. So the floorboards act like a warning system if there is an intruder. A bit like a intruder alarm in a modern building. Now Katrine's going to say what she thought of Nijo Castle.
Don't think anything about it, no.
And who are these people, Katrine?
I don't know, Nigel. Never met them before.
Never saw them before.
No.
No idea what they're doing,
No.
what they're wearing, why they're there.
Just disguised. Out of a movie set. In traditional kimonos. Beautiful ones.
Beautiful kimonos, says Catherine.
Qu'est-ce que je dis, non. C'était beau, hein? Ah oui, c'était beau.
We read something about a tradition of 13-year-old girls going in April on weekends in their traditional clothes. I guess that is what these young ladies are doing.
They're not 13 years old.
But they look a little older than 13 to me.
So let's say 18, 20.
Japanese people do seem to like to tour in
Ooh,
groups.
nice that.
This was cute because it seems typical of Japanese women is that they get a kick out of holding or seeing Western children. This is another whining Japanese tour guide. And the plan of Nijo Castle.
しかし、明治年代に入りまして、この京都御所とシタレの記録とは
Very good.
The school children are often in uniform, always in uniform, smartly dressed, except for their shoes. It's really strange, but they let the school children wear any kind of shoes they want, apparently. Dirty sneakers are the rule for girls as well as boys. This is another part of Nijo Castle. It's unusual to be talking about a castle. Most of the sites in Kyoto, most of the tourist sites are shrines or temples. Japanese people have two main religions, Buddhism and Shintoism. Shintoism is the national religion, it came first. But Buddhism is very popular. Many people are both Buddhist and Shintoist. The two religions are seen to be complementary.
And one saying says they're born as in the Shinto region and they die in the Buddhist religion, I think. Don't laugh at me, Nijo.
Nobody's laughing at you, Catherine.
No! I see one in the corner there, laughing at me.
Ouch.
Everybody's guest room to Nijo Castle. C'est beau, hein? J'ai rien sur Nijo Castle.
Actually, we didn't find Japanese people that attractive.
C'est pas vrai, ça.
In general, we think Hong Kong women are more attractive than Japanese women. There are some
No, but
nice
I find the Japanese men more interesting.
Japanese
than
men, very nice. Just take this specimen, for example. Catherine approached this man with obvious interest on the pretense of being
You
lost.
approached me!
This is Catherine communicating
In Japan.
in fluent Japanese with this person who didn't have much skill in English. This looks like we're in the middle of a temple, which we are, but it's right in the middle of a shopping arcade, so unexpected. We sometimes saw statues dressed up like this. I'm not quite sure what it signifies. I'm sure Catherine knows, but she's not feeling very communicative tonight.
Ça c'est Bouddha et Nounours. The main two deities.
Deities.
I think I should go for the hairstyle next time I go to the hairdresser. Shave my head in a Buddhist tent! Zen!
These we assume to be prayers.
They are.
They are prayers. More prayers tied to the tree.
Plant.
Tree.
Tree to plant.
This is more or less the part of town called Gion.
No, that was
No.
Pontocho.
No, it's not Pontocho, it's Gion.
Around there. No, Gion is on
This
the
is
other
very
side.
animated part of town. Japanese delicacies. This is an art form in Japan, you could say. Model food. Most restaurants have a display of food outside made out of resin like this.
You see that? Looks
Absolutely
like
mouth-watering. This is the restaurant where we ate that evening. Not too expensive 480 yen, 580 yen. This is roughly equivalent to the US cent. So 480 yen is $4.80 roughly. And here's a not very typical menu, but at least you get some idea of what is available in a
Chinese
Kyoto
pizza.
restaurant.
What was that?
Fried tender bone.
Fatty tuna salad.
Fried tongue.
8 kind of
8 kind of spits.
arrête de récupérer les sous de nous.
Notice the people are not wearing their shoes in that restaurant. This is just a main road through Kyoto. It's surprising how even in the center of town most of the roads are very quiet and residential. No point in speaking here, it's so loud. The slot machines you just saw are quite popular. Seem to work with ball bearings. Kyoto has 2 rivers that are not especially attractive, but along the narrow canals there are some nice roads like this one. I think this is the Ponto-cho
yes.
area. That's to say close to a narrow street called Ponto-cho, known for its geisha women. And this is the river that runs along the east side of Kyoto, north to south. A pizza shop.
That's cute. The
This
geisha.
is the first geisha that we saw. Officially, Kyoto has 140 geishas. Geishas are not prostitutes, they are
Artists.
women who can sing and dance well. They're singers and dancers
And entertain men.
and entertainers. You can rent their services for an evening, although it's quite expensive. That's not a geisha there. Another parlor or gambling place. Those ball-bearing gambling machines don't give any money prizes. It's illegal. You just win gifts. Here's the proof that civilization, Western civilization, has arrived in Kyoto. This is the Imperial Palace and the pathetic guide. When I say pathetic, it's not really her fault. She had no megaphone. Talking to more than 100 people, nobody could hear what she was saying, and her accent was actually so bad that even the 4 or 5 people close enough to hear would not have understood what she said. Catherine always has a problem with guided tours. The Imperial Palace in Kyoto was occupied by the emperor sometimes in the past. I think the emperor is still crowned in Kyoto, but now the emperor lives in Tokyo.
Tu fais ça très bien, le nom.
Toi, t'es nul.
Oui. C'est ce que je dis.
We often see gravel and Dry Garden's very carefully raking the gravel here, but even in the Imperial Palace, it doesn't seem to have occurred to them that they might want to hide the drain covers. So in the middle of the Imperial Palace, we have very conspicuous drain covers right in the middle of the carefully raked gravel garden. Strange.
Good looking, that man, eh?
This is what the paper screens look like from the outside. Traditional Japanese buildings have paper screens in place of windows or curtains, of course. This is the view from another hotel. Next to the Anna Hotel is the International Hotel. You're looking east right now. You can see Kyoto's architecture is very ugly for the most part. It's just really a few old temples and so on that are the reason that tourists rate Kyoto as maybe the #1 tourist destination in Japan. The International Hotel has a geisha performance almost every night. We never found out what these things on the back of the geisha costume are supposed to do.
It's like a belt. I think they put like a cushion in front and then complicated knots in the back. It has a special term which I can't remember. An obi or something like that it's called. I think.
The hand gesture is much more important in Asian dances than in Western dances, of course. But it's only in Thailand that the hands really are the focus of the dance. This wasn't actually a geisha, this was a maiko. That's to say an excuse me. That's to say an apprentice geisha. A maiko is an apprentice geisha. One reason that the services of a geisha are so expensive is that the geishas have a training that goes on throughout their professional lives.
On est où là? Ah non.
I don't know.
Oh, that's Imperial.
This is an imperial villa on the lower slopes of the hills to the east of Kyoto,
Northeast.
northeast. Very modest. This is the view back over Kyoto. I'm sure some emperors have spent time here. But the villa is really very small and modest.
It's called the Shugakuin Imperial Villa.
Shogakuin Imperial Villa. Once again, the guide was not impressive this time because there were no guides who could speak English. This was in Japanese only. That's a famous painting with the fish that have broken the nets.
No. The cops make noise at night, so they put them into nets so that they don't escape the pawns to come and sing under the windows or something like that. Or make noise, I don't know.
It was a beautiful day. We had a good day. We were in Kyoto for a week and we had 2 days of rain, I think, and this was one of the only really sunny days.
Le chemin de la philosophie.
This is the Philosopher's Walk, which I hope Catherine will tell you something about. No. I think philosophers used to walk here.
Very clever, Nigel. Very clever. After that, we're going to see the Pavilion d'Argent, the Ginkakuchi, the Silver Pavilion. Which was called the Path of Philosophy because the monks of the neighboring temple came and made it there when the cherry blossom at the beginning of April, which was when we were there. So the path going up to the Silver Pavilion.
The path going up to the Silver Pavilion. Certainly one of the highlights of our stay.
Beautiful Zen temple.
This strange shape in gravel is meant to represent Mount Fuji, I believe. And the other part of the gravel garden here, usually the raked gravel represents waves on the ocean, but I'm not sure of the significance of this particular design. But it's absolutely perfectly formed. You can see this temple is also on the lower slopes of a hill. Somebody has walked through that gravel.
Not me. Japanese garden, Nigel, you should say something. Oops. You seen that big lightning over that time? Ah! Nigel, you've got to stop that. T'as vu ça? Did you see? Jesus Christ, it was right there. It was pretty scary.
We're adding the commentary here in the middle of a thunderstorm in Hong Kong, rather rare. You probably just heard that thunderclap.
T'as vu ça?
I believe we are still on the path of the philosophers, which runs along this canal.
Ça, c'était pas pour les philosophes.
C'était parti de pays-là, il y a tout.
You can see the fallen cherry blossoms are not withered. This is the reason why Japanese people like cherry trees so much, is that they are taken to symbolize the readiness of the Japanese people to lay down their lives in the name of their country. The fact that the blossoms fall from the trees when they are still in full bloom and before they have withered. Very often we saw those little fountains where you can purify yourself by drinking a little of the water. Another little temple, nothing special.
It's very quiet and serene, though. Very nice.
The zigzag paper represents the gods, according to Catherine. There's more examples on the tree.
And that was the shrine in Lyon called the... I'm to look in the guide.
I suppose the ringing of the bells here is to bring good luck.
Yasaka Shrine.
Yasaka Shrine in the main park in Kyoto.
Opening into Maruyama Park, where they get drunk under the cherry blossom.
Maruyama Park.
Maruyama, pas Mara.
Maruyama Park.
typical Japanese offering to the gods.
And this is where the Japanese come in their thousands to eat and drink and
Be
get
merry.
drunk.
Wow.
C'est un peu comme la fête de la Lune à Hong Kong. Les Japonais, les Chinois, ils boivent pas. Hein.
It's like this every night though, right?
Yeah, during the cherry season. Allez, continue.
And this cherry tree right in the middle of the park has to be one of the most beautiful trees we have ever seen. I don't know how old it is, but there were dozens of people photographing it, so it must be of very great importance to the Japanese.
Drinking what? Sake, I guess.
A Japanese meal consisting of
Pickles.
pickles. This day when we went out, which was the
Buddha birthday. And that's the northwest part of Kyoto. And that was the most beautiful Zen temple we saw a little later on. Called
This was Buddha's birthday, yes, and this is what you do on Buddha's birthday. You pour water on his head for some reason, and you drink special sugary tea.
That's Tokuji Dry Garden. Daisan Inn in Tokuji.
I hadn't really realized when I filmed this part, but this is a very, very famous Japanese garden here. A dry garden with the raked gravel representing a river, the vertical stones with the fissures representing a waterfall, a model of a real mountainscape, in other words. This is the head monk dedicating gifts for the tourists. The head monk in a homage to Sony. Do not take the monastic for granted, for underneath that robe may be a badger in sheepskin. The badger to the Japanese is a symbol of prosperity. Always very fat badgers.
Ah, ça c'est les jardins. C'est le non, l'art des bouquets. L'art des bouquets, c'est fabuleux.
A
Très, très beau, ça,
beautiful
oui, oui, oui. Inaccessible aux
flower
touristes.
design.
Non, mais c'est toute une philosophie, ça, hein, il est très beau, ça. les bouquets.
A typical car of the Japanese monks. The ultimate in chic in Japan is to own a European Mercedes or BMW.
L'art du bouquet, ça s'appelle
1 in 20
Ikebana.
cars. 1 in 20 cars in Japan is not Japanese. A small Japanese cemetery. I suppose these tall wooden slats are prayer sticks of some kind.
L'art du bouquet, c'est Ikebana. Bon, tu fais ça très bien, Nijo. Je m'en vais.
Rest, Catherine.
Golden Pavilion.
Golden Pavilion, says Catherine. The gold color comes from
Gold!
gold. The pavilion is covered in a layer of gold leaf. Surrounded by a garden, of course, so we have two kinds of Japanese garden. We have the large gardens designed solely to be beautiful,
And represent the world.
and then we have the dry gardens,
Same thing, representing the world.
which are much more symbolic in nature.
And absolutely ununderstandable to us.
Raked gravel representing
We don't know what.
rivers and oceans.
Nigel, you have no idea what it represents. The symbolic of everything in Japanese completely lost on us. We are barbarians there. For everything, really. No?
Lucky carp in the water. This is in the northwest part of Kyoto.
Golden Pavilion.
The Golden
Still.
Pavilion, still, yes. A not untypical interior of a traditional Japanese home. That's to say, very.
No, it's a tea
Simple.
house there. It's not a home, it's a tea
It
house.
was actually a tea house.
Avec son dirty chaussures. And also it's a beautiful, beautiful fountain, all in bamboo. That's the most famous Zen garden.
The most famous Zen garden.
It's complicated to explain and we can't even understand.
15 rocks.
But you never can see them all at the same time. You always see only 14, never 15. And everything is very important there. The angled disposition of the stones. Who knows? I look absolutely fascinated and inspired. Nigel was more inspired by the schoolgirls, I'm afraid. And personally, I love these interiors of the temples and nothing in there. Zen, quoi.
This interior has the tatamis on the floor.
As
This
all
is
Japanese
woven rice straw. And once again we have to take our shoes off to walk on the squeaky floorboards. School teacher explaining the significance of the stones.
Nigel fascinated by socks and young girls. Pas de belle dent. And that's a magician at work. The gardener, Japan.
The Japanese see gardens as the bridge between man and God. or man and nature?
Well, that's original. That's very original, Nigel. Man and nature. Man and God. Oops, sorry. Very good, sorry. Je me tais. You want to rewind that?
No.
Et par définition, le jardin, c'est toujours la transition entre l'homme et la nature.
The Japanese like to think they have a very strong appreciation of nature, but they do have a reputation of not respecting nature outside Japan. A lot of the logging in Borneo, for example, is by Japanese companies.
Not to mention the whale. They're still killing whales. These bloody Japanese.
And the whaling problem also, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, if it happens outside Japan, the Japanese people are not too concerned about it.
Yeah, because only for them counts Japan. And we're very sensitive to that. As foreigners, we are really nothing there, which I did not appreciate very much. I felt very uneasy in Japan because of that. We are really barbarians to them, and they make us feel that in many ways. Although they're very courteous, of course, but completely inaccessible. What, I shouldn't say that?
Yes,
C'est vrai?
you're talking now, Catherine. This is very good.
Ah, well, what can I say? It's not my language, Nigel. You do it very well anyway.
Speak in French.
No. Anyway, it's difficult for me to speak to a machine. Keep on doing it.
You're not speaking to a machine.
Je vais débarrasser la table.
You're no more speaking to a machine than you are when you're on the telephone. You don't seem to have a problem with telephones, Catherine, if I may say so.
People answer me back there. Nothing.
Well, they will answer you back here also. It'll just be a little delayed.
Ça va bien. J'ai fait mon travail.
C'est vraiment pas farouche. Surtout je le mets.
Kyoto is actually surrounded by bamboo forests like this one. This was probably our best meal in Kyoto.
Yeah.
Fish, crabs in a gratin, which is not very typical. I don't think the Japanese eat a lot of cheese. This really is a nightmare for the person that has to do the washing up. Only 2 of us, but I counted 25 items that would need to be washed up after our little meal.
Ça c'est super sympa, ça c'est des légumes sympas. Ça c'est
Miso soup in there, rice, and lots of other little bits and pieces.
T'as bien trouvé cet endroit?
Two or 3 times we saw these little factories making cakes or biscuits. And this I can't identify, and Katrine has gone away, so she can't help me.
Well, that's this very noisy temple.
Very popular temple.
We left for Nara. It's called.
This is on the east side of Kyoto.
It's called. Sorry. The Kiyomitsu Temple.
Kiyomitsu Temple.
Shintoist temple.
More schoolboys in ugly shoes. And schoolgirls in ugly shoes. This temple is partly famous for its situation. on a steep hill. So below where Catherine is standing, there is a rather steep drop.
It's only one way.
That stone that you just saw was one of a pair of love stones. You'll see the story in just a moment. The love stone. If you can shut your eyes and walk from one stone to the other one 20 meters away, then it'll bring you a lot of good luck in your married life. This woman, who must have been from Singapore because she was speaking English, didn't do too well. This was a cute spot. People trying to fill their little cups with sacred water, and then even more difficult, trying to drink the water without blinding anybody to bring themselves good luck.
Very true.
Another very large cemetery, preceded by a pagoda. Pagodas in Japan are purely decorative. You can't climb them, unlike the Chinese pagodas. And now we are in Nara, a different city. The first city to be the capital of Japan. Kyoto was the second. These little animals were cute, especially the dog on the left. The brown and white dog, showing such an interest in the dog in front of him. Nara is famous for its semi-wild deer. But actually they were not very impressive to look at. They seemed a little mangy, in fact. Nara is much smaller than Kyoto, but has some well-known tourist destinations.
And it was me exhausted by tourism in Japan.
This girl was funny. You'll see her in a moment bowing to the deer. I don't know whether Japanese people have a particular respect for deer.
Yeah, I think they're sacred, that's why there are so many of them.
Sacred deer. Everything you're seeing in Nara is grouped together in a park, which is quite quiet and quite pleasant. This is our room in
Which was less pleasant.
in our hotel in Nara. Not very pleasant.
$100 US dollars for this.
$100 a night. We spent less time in Nara than we had planned to. This was an enterprising young deer. Had its own business in inflatable deer. And the building behind this pool is a big tourist attraction. It's the largest wooden building in the world, or so they claim.
But all these temples burnt many times, of course.
It's actually a lot smaller, only 2/3 the size of the original structure. But it still houses a very impressive Buddha image. This is a shogun. Shogun means Japanese military general. This is the base of one of the wooden pillars in this building. It's supposed to bring you good luck if you can squeeze yourself through, which this boy was not able to do. But if you go through with your arms in front of you, it can be done.